We are live, but we're letting it breathe, baby. Got to bring on Facebook, and then we'll get to the bottom of what's been going on at Dove Valley today, which is quite a lot. Lots to talk about, guys. Welcome in to the Huddle Up podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle, powered by Blue Wire Podcasts. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me is my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, today we learned that for the first time in his young NFL career, Javonte Williams missed a regular season practice. I know you had the report for us. Tell fans what the Broncos are telling us about the injury.
Well, it's listed as a knee on the injury report, but Vic Fangio called it a little leg issue, and then he explained that Williams' leg swelled up a little bit. It wasn't an injury that he suffered during practice. I don't necessarily know what's exactly going on with Javonte. It just sounds like a leg issue. Doesn't sound overly severe. Fangio expects Williams to play Sunday against Cincinnati in a huge, huge game. You can argue the Broncos' season's on the line in this game, so they need the running attack with Javonte. And it's worth noting that Melvin Gordon is battling 3 injuries now simultaneously, a hip, shoulder, and a sprained thumb he suffered against Detroit. He was limited Wednesday and today in practice. Could be Demarie Crockett getting some carries on Sunday against Cincinnati, but looks like right now, Javonte, barring any setbacks, God willing, he'll play Sunday.
Dude, how crazy is it that the New England Patriots are the number 1 seed in the AFC? Maybe it's not so crazy. Maybe we slept too much, Zack, on Mac Jones. Or is it really this is coming to mind because I'm going to show you guys the current AFC playoff picture.
Or is it just holy non sequitur, Batman?
Well, we started talking about how important this game is, right? Like this must-win, do or die. And I thought, you know what? Let's look at the AFC playoff picture. I'll go ahead and flash this so you guys are a little bit more in line with what's going on here. Apologies for the abruptness there, but look at this: Patriots, Zack, number 1 seed; Titans 2, Chiefs 3, Ravens 4, Chargers 5, Colts 6, Bills 7. That's if the playoffs started this weekend. But fortunately, they don't. And here are the teams on the bubble. You got the Browns at 8, the Bengals 1 slot ahead of the Broncos at 9, and then there's your Denver Broncos. So they've climbed 2 spots. If they beat the Bengals, and depending on what happens in the Raiders game, and they're going against Raiders-Browns, your Broncos could freaking leapfrog to 8. And also, I guess, depending on what happens with the Bills, if the Bills fall to 7-7, Broncos suddenly are that 7 seed, depending on how things shake out with the Browns. It's exciting. That's what Zack's talking about, how important this game is, because this guy, your opponent, 1 slot ahead of you in the power rankings, AFC wise.
What's so important about it, too, is you can't lose the head-to-head against Cincinnati and Cleveland, mind you, and for now Las Vegas, and expect to creep in to the wild card picture. So the Broncos have to have this game. But getting back to your original statement about New England being the top seed, you guys think I'm an idiot or whatever for saying coaching, and it matters, but you put Mac Jones in New England, he thrives there. That's why they're the top seed. They're winning in a game where he throws only 3 passes because they have premier GOAT-tier coaching in Belichick and McDaniels. He wouldn't have thrived anywhere else, and I don't think the Patriots would have that record with any other quarterback. It was a match made in heaven, but a match goosed along by really, really, really good coaching.
Listen, we want the Denver Broncos to go as far as this season will let them, but the storylines galore that could be in store for the NFL if it's the Patriots and Bucks in the freaking Super Bowl, man. Because look at this. The Bucks currently are number 2 seed with the Packers at 1. I mean, Aaron Rodgers sleeps on the couch for the entire offseason, shows up day before the regular season, and the Packers are 10-3. That's how freaking good this guy is. Bucks, Cards at 3. That's a huge surprise, right? That they are a 3-loss team this deep into the season. Cowboys 4, Rams 5, Niners 6. Niners, so they're hanging. Washington, look at old Ron Rivera, man, making some hay while the sun's a-shining, and then a slew of teams. And the Falcons, Scott's Falcons are hanging in there. That they still got a shot. Their shot's about as good as the Broncos, let's be honest.
Coaching, Arthur Smith, rookie coach. They have a rookie general manager as well, and Terry Fontenot, an aging Matt Ryan, no Calvin Ridley. They're having Cordarrelle Patterson having a breakout season at freaking running back, looking legit. That's a product of really good coaching. So there's a common thread here, Chad, and I want the Broncos to get on that thread, and I don't think they'll do it with Fangio. Another non sequitur.
Yep. Tonight is the night of non sequiturs. This is how we roll today, and we're happy to do so.
Casual
And
Thursday, baby.
we're stoked to have you guys in the room with us. So appreciate each and every one of you. Back to the topic at hand that I so rudely kind of went stage left on, Javonte Williams. The Broncos. This wouldn't necessarily. What's up, Travis? Don't worry about stars, buddy. This wouldn't be necessarily, Zach, so alarming for Javonte if Melvin, as you mentioned, wasn't still trying to kind of fend off his own injury demons right now. And if we look, in fact, the injury report that I forwarded to you guys earlier today, they sent an updated one, and it shows here that in the updated version, Melvin Gordon limited today, limited yesterday. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on because, look, the Bengals are a really good rushing defense, as we'll go through here in a few more minutes. We'll go through the head-to-head. You're going to need your horses, man. And maybe that's what this was about. Maybe the Broncos were just like, look, we're going to need Javonte as fresh as possible. So if he doesn't practice on a Friday, so be it.
Whoa. I mean, the big selling point for Melvin Gordon, one of them is he's supposed to keep Javonte Williams fresh, And now Javonte has an injury, so it kind of shoots a hole in that argument that the Broncos need Melvin Gordon, especially at his current salary, for one of the reasons being to keep Javonte injury-free or keep him fresh. He's in a timeshare and has a leg injury. It happens in the NFL. You can't keep players in bubble wrap, so that's why I still think Javonte should get the lion's share, but we're just going off different tracks today, I guess, Chad.
Joe Burrow is nursing a right finger. I was not aware of this. Were you?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago he suffered it, and he tried on different gloves, took off gloves. It bothered him, but then he came back and had a pretty good game last week.
He didn't practice Wednesday, practiced in full today, so he's obviously going to play, but that's something to monitor. Other than that, Trey Hendrickson, right?
That's a big one.
Their edge rusher, didn't practice Wednesday, practiced in full today.
Ooh, yeah, he's playing.
Chidobe Awuzie didn't practice and is now on the reserve list, CV list. And DJ Reader, he of the throwing shade at Drew Lock fame, right? He didn't practice yesterday, practiced today. So, I mean, otherwise, the only guys, Zach, who didn't practice for the Bengals today, Trey Hill, the center, Isaiah Prince, the tackle, Riley Reif, the tackle, Logan Wilson, the linebacker, and the corner, Vernon Hargraves. Everyone else either was limited or full on their injury report.
Yeah, Hendrickson not playing would have been a big break for the Broncos, but it looks like Awuzie is not going to play. Even though he's vaccinated, I don't think he has enough time to get cleared, and that's huge because you can argue he's been the Bengals' best defender this season. Unfortunately, though, if you scroll through Roto World, or what they used to be, what they're called now is, I think, is Edge, NBC Edge, it's stupid. It's sad. The blurb for Awuzie says, it won't really matter, in other words, against the pass-averse Broncos. What a sad sentence when the Broncos have the talent they do at receiver, but it's still a big break for them if and only if Pat Shurmur wants to capitalize on that. Fingers crossed.
Well, Trickle, he brought up a good point today as he wrote up the story on what Shurmur and Teddy had to say, kind of punching back against the criticism of, hey, where is the targets for Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, etc. We can go through. So we read you the Teddy quote yesterday, but we can go over what Pat said as well if you guys want. But one of Trickle's takes here, one of his main points in the article, and Stone, thank you for those big stars, my friend. You the man. You have come on strong like a freaking whirling dervish, my friend. Let us say thank you, both right here and now, and by sending out a little piece of swag, dude. Why don't you shoot us an email, milehighhuddle@gmail.com, and send us your t-shirt size and your address, and we'll shoot you a little thank you for being so supportive, my friend. But Zach, back to Trickle. He's saying, look, when you have a dominant and prolific rushing attack and a solid, if not good, depending on the day, defense, you can win some games in the league. But when you have to, if you're so out of whack, if your passing offense, Zach, is so out of rhythm, your quarterback is struggling as hard as Teddy is to form chemistry and cohesion with your boundary receivers, when that time comes, when you are pushed into a corner and you need to throw, it doesn't bode well. And we saw that in Week 13 in Arrowhead.
Yeah, I've heard another podcast that Teddy is never going to win you a game, and he's never going to be the guy to win a shootout or win on the strength of his arm. And it's just That's what you want in your quarterback. That's what you need in your quarterback. And there's really no excuses when he has the talent that he does. A lot of other quarterbacks around the NFL making much more hay than Teddy Bridgewater with a lot less talent around him than Bridgewater has as well. We all know what he is by now, a check down artist. The best thing that can happen, though, is the Broncos' running game blossoms in his stead during this time, and it has so far.
Claude jumping in. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, I'm rooting for a tie tonight. Of course, it's Chargers, Chiefs. Other than a tie, what's the best outcome of tonight's game for the Broncos? You want the Chargers to lose.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, there's the margin. If we go back to the playoff picture, let me do a quick share screen. Then we got to handle some matters of business here. If you go back to the margin that separates the Chiefs from the Broncos, it's 2 games. All right, and there's 4 games left to go. So it's one of those where even if the Chargers were to win, and the Broncos get to face all 3 of their divisional opponents one more time amongst these last 4 games. So if the Chargers were to win, it wouldn't be the worst thing either. Like either way, it's one of the Broncos' biggest, impediments to climbing up the AFC playoff picture right now. One of those guys is going to lose tonight, and that's a good thing. Which one, Zach? I mean, take your pick. Probably the Chargers if you want your best shot at kind of guaranteeing a wild card.
Yeah, I think that the Chiefs right now are running away with the West. They're kind of getting their bearings and going back to the Kansas City team of old, and you got to give them that. So, realistically, you have to fight for a wild card, and it would help that you lower the team in front of you, which would be the Chargers, and also remember the Broncos beat them head-to-head, so they have that tiebreaker as well. Yeah, you want Kansas City to win tonight. You would root for the Meteor in a ideal scenario, but Kansas City in a realistic one. I don't know what's going on with the game, though. I just turned it on, and it looks like pretty scary situation. The guy's on a stretcher right now.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what's going on.
What's up, Miguel? He says, I think both teams are going to have good rushing days. It's going to come down to who can get the ball, the deep ball, even though it might be minimal. We will come back to that, my friend. Lots more to discuss. We're going to dive into the Bengals and really what kind of challenge awaits the Broncos this week. All right. But first, we got to say what's up to my bookie, because right now everybody's trying to cash in on that next best crypto. But if you want a guaranteed way to double your money, all you got to do is use our promo code at MyBookie, and that is easy to remember, MHH. It's simple. You sign up at mybookie.ag, use the promo code MHH, and your first deposit immediately doubled all the way up to $1,000. Talk about a quick ROI with the NFL playoff picture and college bowl season just around the corner. Here's your chance to double your firepower at MyBookie. Get in on the action on this year's most important games.
Yeah, such a cool tool, guys. Build your own props, create multi-game parlays, and take part in a host of MyBookie cash prize contests. This is the best time of year to both watch and bet on sports because you know who the winners are by now. So don't miss out. Double your first deposit by using promo code MHH and keep your eyes peeled for more exclusive holiday promotions coming soon at mybookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Appreciate MyBookie. And guys, we love it when our community, one of the reasons sponsors like us, all right, is because our community understands that they support us when they support our sponsors, all right? So we appreciate each and every one of you who have signed up on that code. Michaela jumping in. What's going on with, wow, very generous super chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. You know how much we love you. You know how much we appreciate you. And looking good in your new Patrick Surtain jersey, rocking it, still fresh. It probably still has that brand new smell, right? She says, much love to the entire MHH family. I hope Pookie is okay. It doesn't sound, reading, Zach, the actual content of what was said today and also the tonality, that the Broncos are too worried about Pookie. It's a matter of understanding, as you guys will see as we get through this here in a little bit, the head-to-heads, understanding, Zach, that this opponent, you're going to have to come correct on the smash mouth if you want to, have a word edgewise in this debate that's going to take place on a gridiron on Sunday.
Well, it's tough, too, because you want to establish the running game, of course. You want to take advantage of the running backs and the horses that you have. But Cincinnati, I don't know how many people know this, their run defense is really, really good. 4th ranked in the NFL. They're only giving up 93.1 yards per game. That's really solid run defense. Trey Hendrickson plays a big part in that, so that's why if he didn't play, it would be a break for the Broncos. But regardless, they have to try to keep it and establish it and keep it going, because you can't rely on Teddy. If you get in the shootout, if it's Joe Burrow versus Teddy Bridgewater, you're going to lose that game. If you fall behind and you're forced to pass and go off game script and game flow, you're going to lose the game. So regardless, if it doesn't work on the first series, the second series, you got to stay with it until it does. I'm talking to you right now, Pat Shurmur.
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, he's kind of an interesting story, right? A third-round pick out of Florida Atlantic of course, the Saints back in 2017. Then he goes to Cincinnati, and my dude is, he's become a thing down there. 2021, let's look at his let me take a quick peek at his stats. He's got, in 11 starts, let's see, he's got 12 and a half sacks. That doesn't count his QB hits, which are 20, and his total pressures and whatnot, right? So this dude, Zach, is a whirling dervish, and the Broncos O-line, irregardless of which tackle ends up being tasked with having to take him on most, they're going to have their hands full. And yes, Miguel, as we mentioned, it's that deep ball. It'd be nice to see Teddy deploy it every once in a blue moon, if nothing else, but to keep the defense at least semi-worried that you might do it again.
What deep ball? The only time he attempts one is down the sideline, and usually it's off the receiver's fingertips or it's a catch, and it's a 50-50 proposition whether they complete that. How often have you seen a true deep ball 30-plus yards down the middle of the field, a seam stretcher? Very rare. I don't think Teddy can throw that. I don't think he wants to throw that, and worst of all, I don't think the Broncos want to throw that. I don't think they want to go that long. Pat Shurmur had a really, really interestingly bad quote today in his presser. Nothing new there. It happens every single week. But he said twice, I want to score one more point than the opponent. And then he defined that's a win in true John Madden style, Chad, because we didn't know that scoring more than your opponent equals a victory. But I think that's telling and revealing as to the mindset of the Broncos. That's the margin of error that you want is 1 point. That's the mindset you want to have, is barely squeaking by someone, not blowing past them. That's the whole problem right now, and that's permeating throughout the facility in Dove Valley.
Michael, it is great to see you, my friend. Hope all is well down in Tucson. Shout out to Clayton, who became an official Facebook supporter, a subscriber today, ponied up the $5 a month. So thank you, Clayton. Remember, you, like all of our other supporters, now get access to our premium VIP podcast content, which for the rest of this month and probably early January is only for paid Facebook subscribers. So appreciate you doing that, my friend. If you guys want to join Clayton, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/milehighhuddle. There's that big blue button at the top. Become a supporter. You're in like Flynn. Shout out Travis. What's going on? Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's too serious as far as Pookie, but we're going to keep an eye on that, boys and girls. Let's see what else we got here on people's minds before we dive into some head-to-heads, because this is where, these games, man, they're meaningful. So as we start analyzing these head-to-heads tonight and each game remaining in this season, like, it becomes even more meaningful. We got one. Let's see. Kayaka. Let me see if I can grab him. Here he is. What's going on, big dog? Great to have you. Thank you for the super chat. I'm about done with Zach's hate for Merlot. Bro, just admit you don't like MG3. It's totally okay. Always so negative. I'm elated we have him, and I hope he stays. LOL. Much love to my brother, Zach.
So you're calling me a hater, but calling him Merlot. Okay.
Here's the thing with Melvin Gordon. I guess sometimes tonality, okay? Tonality.
Oh, man. I'm not saying it again. I don't hate the player. I don't hate the person. I hate the contract. I like Javonte Williams. They drafted a running back in the second round. I like to see him be the face of the backfield. No problem, Melvin Gordon, a little overpaid, and a good but not great running back. That's my opinion, and I think it's pretty level-headed and reasonable.
I'd be curious, though, Kayaka, in your opinion, and I'm really asking this. What is he, Zach? The 8th highest or 9th highest? He's either 8th or 9th. This I know because we just checked it out earlier this week. Do you view Melvin Gordon, Kayaka, as the 8th or 9th best running back in the league? I'm just curious. Hit me up. Tell me where you stand on that. Jermaine, what's going on, my friend? Hey, that's 2 nights in a row we've had Jermaine throwing down. Thank you, brother. He says, we got the best 3 wideouts in the league. Put Wilson or Rodgers back there. 4,000-yard pass, 40 to 45 touchdowns. Yeah, that's one of the things, Zach, and I think one of the reasons why fans are so frustrated right now, because on one hand, yes, when you hear Teddy Bridgewater talk about, hey, we're winning. No, you won this game. You lost the one before. You won the one before. You lost the one before that. It's, teeter-totter. But winning is important, all right, but you really are squandering some formidable talent there. I mean, you can argue that the most outside of Pookie right now, the most explosive talent you have on that offense is not being used. In what world does that make any sense? I mean, you're winning games, and Detroit notwithstanding, most of these games that you do win, sitting here at 7-6, is it 7-6? Yes, 7-6, are by the skin of your teeth. You're barely winning, and yet you have these weapons that you just showed love to. You just paid them big money, and since week 8, all right, that was the Washington game, and that obviously was also the game, Zach, that Jerry Jeudy returned to the lineup. Courtland Sutton's been targeted a grand total of 20 times. Week 8, week 9, week 10, week 11, bye, week 13, week 14. I mean, that is shameful.
But what did Pat Shurmur say today about Courtland Sutton? He was asked about his performance, and this is what Pat Shurmur said. Performance in recent weeks, he had one catch for 9 yards against the Lions in a 38-10 victory. And Pat Shurmur said, well, he understands what it takes to win and help the team win. That doesn't answer the question. It doesn't summarize his performance. It deflects away from that. He's not getting Courtland Sutton involved, and not really getting Tim Patrick involved for that matter either. So you're I don't want to say overpaying, but you're paying good money to 2 premium receivers, and neither of them are making huge game-altering impacts every single week. I know you want to establish the run, but you can do both things at the same time. But I can tell you about Aaron Rodgers, though. He's a lot like Tom Brady. He would love a receiver of Tim Patrick caliber, considering his sure hands, his reliability. He would love someone like Courtland Sutton, considering how dominant he is in the red zone and on back shoulders and deep balls. And he would love someone like Jerry Jeudy, who's like a Javonte Adams light when it comes to the route running. So you put him in this offense, provided you have a coordinator that would let him cook. I mean, the sky really is the limit.
Definitely. There's a good analysis that was done earlier this week by Tom Hall at milehighhuddle.com, kind of weighing the pros and cons of each quarterback. Like if either Wilson, let's just assume for a second that the wild rumors are true and Wilson and Rodgers are out of their respective NFL cities in the spring, which one would make the most sense for the Denver Broncos? It really boils down to how much do you value that 33 years old component of Russ? The fact that he is significantly younger. However, Zach, the thing that he brings up, one of the many things Tom brings up in that analysis is that while he might be younger than Aaron Rodgers, he's also been a rusher a lot more. I mean, Aaron's always been a solid scrambler, and he's picked up his fair share of rushing yards, but Russell Wilson has been a rusher, right? Like he's taken a lot of, most of the time, he's savvy enough to kind of make sure he doesn't take big hits, but there's just less tread, I think, on those tires than the average 33-year-old quarterback. So it just kind of comes down to what's your flavor. What do you prioritize more? If it's a matter of a passer that can come in and maximize the weapons and talent you have currently and really elevate all ships, it's probably Aaron Rodgers. But the downside to that is the shelf life, Zach, going to be much shorter.
I mean, you have to compare production from this season, and it's been wonky from both ends. Wilson had the finger, but Aaron was on the CV list. He has the toe now, so they've both been dealing with ailments this season. And you mentioned the records before. The Packers are in the 2 seed behind the Bucs right now. I mean, they're cruising to a top seed in the NFC playoff picture. Mostly in part to Aaron Rodgers. And who does he really have on that offense aside from Davante Adams and Aaron Jones? I mean, someone like Valdez Scantling or Alan Lazard. The Broncos' talent in the receiving core is a lot better, but the quarterback, like you mentioned just now, raises all ships and all production around you.
On this topic, all right, of the next quarterback, Colin Cowherd made some waves this week. In fact, this is probably something I'm going to write about, if not tonight, first thing in the morning, but he made some waves by saying the following this week, quote, "If Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, he has to be the missing piece. There's only one place for that. It's the Denver Broncos. Green Bay does not want him in the NFC, I can assure you of that. Denver's a team that can give up 4 first-round picks. Cornerbacks, got him covered. 2 tight ends, Javonte Williams now. They've added a running back, 2 good running backs. They have a good left tackle. They have an edge rusher. All the things you need, and most of them are young." Now, look, Zach, we've clowned on Colin Cowherd for some of his takes over the years, but he's also a guy that actually has been right on more than one occasion. What's your read on what he has to say there about Rodgers?
Well, if he did, I hear that correctly? 4 first-round draft picks, because
Right,
then I want to
right.
clown on him a little more for
Yeah.
that. No way in hell am I doing that for a 38-year-old, whatever he is, 39-year-old quarterback. No way. I would give up 2 for him, but not double that. And I don't think George Payton will as well. But it's true. I made the same point when it came out a few weeks ago about Rodgers' trade interest and Russell Wilson. Both those teams would want those quarterbacks out of the conference. And someone like Wilson, who was connected to him, it was the Saints, it was the Giants, and the Broncos. 2 of those 3 teams are in the conference. The only one that's out of the conference is Denver. So I agree with Cowherd in that sense, but compensation still way, way too much.
4 first-round picks. I mean, if this was like a 22-year-old Aaron Rodgers or however old he was, what was he, like 25 when he won the Super Bowl that 2010 season? Four first-round picks. I could hear someone say that with a straight face. 30, soon to be aged 39, Aaron Rodgers, 4 first-round picks. I mean, no. I'm sorry, no. And thank you, by the way, Andrew. You demand just love for that dub. You demand, dude. Thank you very much. George Fox says, if we want Teddy to put the ball down the field, I don't think he will, because as we have seen when we send him the ball downfield, it's either over or under, not offended. Are they on target? Denver Broncos for life. Thanks for all you do for us fans. You got it, buddy. Yeah, look, being as what's the word? I'll steel man Teddy. All right. Teddy's strengths are his intangibles: football brain, leadership, relative calm and poise in the pocket. Those are his calling cards. That's what, and one of the reasons why coaches love him so much is, he's a lot like them in that sense. He knows a lot, poised in the pocket. But what you lose with Teddy is he has, I would say, just this much above average athleticism for an NFL quarterback, and the arm talent is just I shouldn't say non-existent, but as far as NFL caliber arm talent, I mean, it's nothing to write home about. And then you start talking about the deep ball, Zach, his deep ball accuracy. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I was some Teddy Bridgewater expert as far as all of his film before he became a Bronco. So I'll just base it on what I've seen as a Bronco. His deep ball accuracy leaves much to be desired. I can think off the top of my head of 2 or 3 maybe dimes that he's thrown that went more than 20 yards where I'm like, that was a nice throw, big dog.
Yeah, one was dropped by Alberto against Pittsburgh, but like, if you can only think of 2 or 3, that's a problem in itself. And George makes a good point here. His accuracy isn't all that. I mean, sometimes he'll throw a ball and it's like barely off the receiver's fingertips, but only in a position where the receiver could get it. He wasn't going to throw it in harm's way. Other times, he's sailing it over, under, out of bounds, too far inside. No one talks about that, but his accuracy has been a problem with the capital P at some points this season. And that's what I was saying. I don't think Teddy likes throwing deep. I don't think the Broncos like Teddy throwing deep. So it's a match made in heaven.
Clayton goes from being a subscriber to now also the first time sending some stars on Facebook. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. He says, all you guys do a great job. Keep it up. And remember, guys, smash that like button. Appreciate you, Clayton.
This is true, too, about Teddy. I mean, he had a free play and he checked it down for 2 yards. I'll never forget that for as long as I live.
It's been a long time since I've seen a quarterback meme themselves like so hard, But I guess we shouldn't expect too much less just because Teddy doesn't go on social media. He doesn't have Twitter. He doesn't have any of that. So
he doesn't have a TV.
Doesn't have a TV. Real quick here, there was one I wanted to grab from. Where did he go? Yvonne, what's going on, big dog? Good to see you. He says, sorry to join a little late. What is the status of Kenny Young? I'll tell you. Kenny Young did not participate today or the day before because he's in concussion protocol. And what Vic said about Kenny Young, let me find it here, quote, well, is he progressing well in concussion protocols? In other words, coach, is there a chance Kenny Young will be spit out of protocols in time to start on Sunday? And this is Vic's reply, quote, he is progressing. I don't know if he's progressing fast enough. We'll see. So we don't know. All we can know is, today's Thursday. Yesterday was Wednesday. That in and of itself is progress. Is he any better? Couldn't tell you. We don't know.
Sounds pretty ominous, though, and 2 DNPs don't bode too well. And he has to go through those stages of the concussion protocol, and the last one is from an independent neurologist away from the team. Fortunately, unlike being on the CV list, that can happen at any time. It can happen on Saturday. It can happen before kickoff. There's a chance he can play. It's not looking overly likely right now, but you know who stepped up in his place was Jonas Griffith. He graded out pretty well at ILB next to Baron Browning against Detroit. So maybe another guy stepping up in the linebacking core.
Earned some props, too, from Vic Fangio, did Jonas Griffith. All right, we're going to grab Claude here, and then there's one from Todd Ostendorf I'm going to grab next. Claude says, can't wait for Shurmur and Teddy to be replaced by people who know how to utilize the formidable weapons we have on offense. Yeah, it's probably only a matter of time. But again, if the Broncos make the playoffs, there's a good chance Shurmur goes nowhere. And there's a solid chance they bring Teddy back because they don't want to look gift horses in the mouth. Depending on what would happen with a Rodgers situation or a Wilson situation or Derek Carr, as we talked about earlier this week or whatever, going 5 years without making the playoffs, and then you bring in a 1-year mercenary and you make it, and now he's a free agent. That fruit might be hanging too low for the Broncos, Zach, to say, yeah, let's go ahead and move on from Teddy. I could see him coming, throwing a few dollars at him, bringing him back, drafting a quarterback in the first round. This is, again, assuming they fail to really land an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson, and trying to see if they can't catch that lightning in the bottle in 2022.
I mean, if you're of the party that just wants Shurmur and Bridgewater replaced, there's a scenario if the Broncos make the playoffs where they bring Vic Fangio back as head coach and say, listen, you have to replace the OC and a couple other coaches and maybe the quarterback as well. That new OC would likely want his own quarterback, either a veteran in part with George Payton or a rookie to develop. So if you don't mind Fangio coming back, I think you'll be happy one way or the other next year.
Todd says, I will say at least Drew Lock has a strong arm and can push the ball downfield, something that has been missing this year. Lock being benched may signal his end as a starter in the league, though. It may, and it definitely signals, Todd, his end as a starter in Denver, barring injury to Teddy. But yeah, he's got that arm. If you could take the poise, I'll say this. If you could take the poise of Teddy, all right, and the relative football IQ of Teddy, mix that with what you have in Drew's actual tangible skills, you'd have something pretty special in that one quarterback. But here we are close to Christmas, right? If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, ...
Yeah, I think Locke is on the same path as a Marcus Mariota, where he was written off as a starter and he goes and he's a backup somewhere and he plays well in spot duty. Then the coach says, maybe he can play again, and he gets another shot. What he does with that shot is anyone's guess, but I know you agree with this. I want to see Drew Lock in another system to see what he can do, given an opportunity. If he can't play, he can't play, but let's find out.
And you know what? If they end up moving on from the coaching staff and bring in a new one, I'd be just as interested to see how he might do with that new coach, like just with a different coaching staff. Pat Shurmur was a horrible fit for Drew, and Drew for him. That just wasn't a good match. Vic Fangio, that was a bad decision. I don't know. We could go on, but Drew's not even a factor in the conversation anymore. There was a good article, though, today that came out from Bob Morris. Guys, go give it a read. 6 Bronco draft picks. Recent draft picks whose rookie contracts are about to expire. What are their odds of returning? What's their future with the team? Drew's on that list. Go give it a read. Miguel says, I agree with Zach in terms of the contract, but I do like, talking about Melvin here, I like the Chubb Hunt model in Cleveland.
Well, to be fair to both, I don't think Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams are as good as Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb. I think Cleveland has the better running backs. The Broncos have good running backs in their own right, but I think Cleveland's are better. And I don't know if you think Melvin's on the same level. I don't know who would be who in that situation. I guess he would be Kareem Hunt, but I would take Hunt over Melvin Gordon. I'll say that. That's my opinion, though. You guys can feel free to disagree.
I'm not sure I would take Hunt over Melvin. Melvin,
just more explosive. I mean, if you watch some highlights, what he does.
What's Hunt's age? He's got to be a couple 2 years or so younger than Melvin.
I would
So
guess like
maybe I would.
26 or 27.
Something like that. Kayaka, hey, appreciate the calls to action, guys. Yeah, that's right. If you are in the room and you're on YouTube or Facebook, give the video a like, guys. It's a little thing that you can do that goes a long way to help us big time. Let's see, Travis. Scary thought, though. What if they keep them around talking about the coaches? It's a distinct possibility, guys. Jermaine says, and Russ, I trust. It's a distinct possibility that you have to reckon with. Like, Zach, Broncos fans, when Vic went on that 4-game losing streak after winning the first 3, then they lose 4 in a row, and then a couple of other letdown moments after that. Broncos fans started kind of emotionally just saying, I'm moving on. I'm tired of Vic. We need something new. It's going to happen. We've seen this story before. We know how the season's going to end. And then all of a sudden they kind of found a way to kind of battle back. And there again, guys, is a distinct possibility. Vic's going nowhere, but it is 100% contingent on, did you make the playoffs, Vic? If he does, I could see him staying. In fact, I'm almost certain, he would stay. But that's a big if at this point as far as them making it.
Yeah, the only gray area, and I perfectly agree with what you're saying, but let's say 9-8. If you're George Payton, you can justify it both ways. You didn't make the playoff. I'm talking no playoff berth. 9-8 winning record, but no playoffs. You can justify it either way. But I wouldn't be surprised either if he says, you know what, I'll be patient, give it one more make or break year. Fangio's under contract. Seems like he's on the upswing. Let's see what we can do with some minor changes to the coaching staff and maybe the quarterback as well. I'm just prepping for that scenario.
Quincy wants to know on Facebook, Zach, Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder?
Oh, that's a tough. I mean, both need a lot of seasoning in the NFL, good coaching at the next level. Ridder gives me some Dak vibes, though. I've seen that comp a lot, and I would love to have a quarterback like that. Malik Willis, I think, has the higher upside. I don't know. I think you can go either way, but like I said yesterday, we're going to get so many of these questions between now and the next couple months, and it all depends. My answer is the same every time. Who's coaching the team and who's the coordinator of the team?
Hey, Jordan, first-time stars, pretty sure. Thank you for that. Really means a lot. Stick around. Any topics you got, questions, get them in the chat. We'll keep an eye out for them. Zach, here's a pop quiz, okay? How many Bronco quarterbacks all time would you guess have passed for 3,000 or more yards in a single season all time?
Man, like just one quarterback? Doesn't matter if they did it multiple times?
Number of seasons, yeah. Just one number of quarterbacks.
5.
Wow. See, I was the exact opposite of that. I would if someone would have asked me off the top of my head, I would have gone through the Rolodex. I probably would have answered somewhere between 10 and 15. But if Teddy Bridgewater manages to pass for another 56 yards in the season, he will become the 11th Bronco quarterback
sold him
to pass
short.
for 3,000 yards. On that note, let's go ahead and start our head-to-head here and take a look at these two teams who, kind of been down in the dumps, both of them, the last couple 2-3 years, but they're on the brink of something cool. The Broncos currently, though, own a 23-10 all-time record against the Bengals, including a 14-3 mark at home. Let me see if there's anything cool here that's worth noting.
Got that right, Yvonne. For
what
sure.
What did you say? Read it to me.
I can see Zach throwing his cap in anger if Shermer and Teddy stay for the next season. Ha.
Could be. All right, here is the head-to-head, guys. Green obviously signifies a top 10 statistical ranking. Red equals bottom 10. Both teams chilling at 7-6 right now. So there's a huge game. Both teams on the bubble, in the hunt, however you want to portray it in the AFC. The Broncos are +1 in the turnover differential. And guys, that just simply means they have taken the ball away one more time than they have given it away. Meanwhile, the Bengals are -4, all right? And that mark, by the way, puts the Broncos right in the middle of the pack. Time of possession, this Broncos offense, Zach, still top 10. They average 31.5 minutes per game possessing the ball, which ranks them 7th. Meanwhile, the Bengals, they're only, less than let's see. They're 30 minutes, 52 seconds, so just shy of 31 minutes, and that ranks them 14th. Looking at these offenses, though, Zach, the Broncos in net yards per game are ranked 19th with 345. The Bengals, just a few marks better, 358. We'll call it 359 net yards per game, which ranks them 14th. Yards per play, Broncos are middle of the pack, as are the Bengals, but still a little bit better than the Broncos. Points per game, the Broncos are averaging 21.2, good for 20th in the league. The Bengals, meanwhile, Zach, look at this, top 10, averaging 27.2 points per game. Rushing, the Broncos are the 11th best rushing offense, averaging 123 yards per game. The Bengals, 19th, averaging just shy of 109 per game. Passing, Joe Burrow, he's averaging about 250 yards per game. That's just outside the top 10. Broncos are 19th, averaging 221. And then we get into some green here for your Denver Broncos. Interceptions, the Broncos have only thrown 9. That's good for 9th in the league. That ties them for 9th. They've only lost 6 fumbles, ties them for 9th. Fewest, right? And then so in total giveaways, they've only given the ball away a grand total of 15 times, which ties them for 8th. Meanwhile, Zach, 14 picks for the Bengals that they've thrown. They've lost 7 fumbles, 21 total giveaways. They're in the bottom third of the league. Sacks, the Broncos have given up 33. Bottom third, tied at 23. Bengals have given up a whopping 41 sacks. Zach, if this is not the game that Bradley Chubb finds a way to go off the chain, then I'm really going to be worried. I'm a little bit worried now about him. Then I'm really going to start, edging toward the cliff.
What about Shelby Harris as well? I mean, it would be a nice time for him to have his coming out party after getting his new contract. Draymond Jones being kind of banged up sucks because I think he can do some damage against an offensive line that surrenders sacks. And the Bengals offense strikes me as an explosive unit, but one prone to turnovers and just poor play. So the Broncos defense, they can really dominate this offense if they play correctly. It's good to see the Broncos offense, though, got out of the doldrums on third down and in the red zone. They were among the bottom a couple weeks ago. Now they're 17th and 19th, so I think that's encouraging.
Well, when you go 5 for 5 in the red zone in one game, that's going to bump your numbers. And they were solid on third down. I'll go back to week 14 really quick. They were significantly better on third down against the Lions. The Broncos went 8 for 12, Zach, on third down. So that's 67%. So obviously that's almost double what their season average was. So they did climb precipitously on third down. They're now ranked 17th. Red zone, they're 19th. Meanwhile, the Bengals, they're not any good on third down either. I should say, no, that's accurate. They're not any good, but they're actually ranked middle of the pack. But in the red zone, my dog, Joe Burrow, finds a way to freaking hit the pay dirt. He finds a way to pound it home. They're ranked 8th in red zone efficiency, Zach, scoring touchdowns on 63% of their possessions that go inside the opponent's 20.
Helps to have Mixon down in the red zone. The defenses are playing the pass, and you have a running back like that. It helps a lot. So I agree with the comment that I saw. I think it was from Base Gast who said, I'm more worried about Mixon than Burrow. I feel the same way. He's the running back that can hurt the Broncos to the edge with his speed, with his explosion. That's always been the type of player the Broncos have struggled against, and I think he can take this game over if Denver allows that.
So Falling Sloth brings up a point here. Keep in mind, 4 of those Cincy turnovers were just from fumbled kicks last week, which isn't something they would normally do. Makes them seem far worse than they are. Yeah, perhaps that's true, but it's all part of the milieu, right? It's all part of the tapestry. We could find statistical outliers on the Denver Broncos side of things as well. But let's keep looking here. Actually, let's grab Damien first, and then we'll keep marching through the defense. Thank you, Damien, for that very generous super chat, my dog. He says, I'm shaking my head at what I'm hearing. Lynch had an arm, Osweiler had an arm, and yet we were very close to the playoffs. I'm a results-driven guy, and I get it, but karma would be spiteful if we make it to the Super Bowl. LOL. I'm struggling here.
A lot to unpack there.
I need the syntax maestro, dude. Translate what he's trying to say.
It might not be in reference to us, but a comment maybe about Locke having a strong arm, comparing it to Lynch and Osweiler. We were very close to the playoffs. Result-driven guy, and I get it, but karma would be spiteful if we make it to the Super Bowl. I don't know. They gave up on those quarterbacks, and they had arms, and they gave up on Drew Lock
I would not say Osweiler had an arm.
No, I wouldn't either.
Lynch did. Lynch actually, for being a long-limbed giraffe, he had a whip, dude. He could put some mustard on the ball. He lacked utterly anything between the ears.
It helped in Call of Duty for sure.
Moss Def. Osweiler, though, he had a very average NFL arm and a weird throwing platform. But either way, I think what he's trying to say is, look, they had an arm. We got close, couldn't get there. By the time Peyton made it to the the second Super Bowl, he didn't have an arm. We won it. If Teddy manages to get that far, maybe that's what he's trying to say.
I think you're right. Yeah, karma would be spiteful. I think you got it there, Chad. So,
but Damien,
the syntax guru tonight.
It's been a few days since we've seen you in the chat, so welcome back. Thank you. We appreciate you, my friend. Let's go take a look here at the head-to-head on defense and see where these two teams measure up. So your Broncos are now 7th in net yards per game, relinquishing 325 yards. That's pretty good. Meanwhile, the Bengals, middle of the pack, 350 yards a game. What is it?
I wish I had a telestrator so I can highlight net passing yards per game on Cincinnati's side and just mail it to Pat Shurmur's offense. Be like, look at that. They're 29th. They're not going to have a Wouzier, their top cornerback. Stretch them down the field. Throw the ball. Use the weapons around you. Unleash Teddy, whatever that means. But look at those numbers. 29th in the NFL, 200 and almost 57 yards per game.
Only 3 teams in the league are worse against the pass than the Bengals. But only 3 teams are better than them against the run. So, yeah, you're going to see the Broncos, I think, Zach, and especially with all the storylines that have been permeating, combined with the injuries to Gordon and now Pookie, I think you're going to see Teddy Bridgewater under, directive from Pat Shurmur, try and air it out a little bit, try and move the ball with the pass. How successful that will be remains to be seen. But look at this. The Broncos now, Zach, second best defense in points per game. They're only allowing 17.5. Bengals allow almost a touchdown more than that per game at 22.5. Net rushing, Broncos are top 10 as well. All right. They're in fact 10th, but the Bengals are 4th. They don't even allow an average of 100 yards. They don't allow opponents on average to triple digits. Passing, Broncos top 10. All right. Interceptions, though, these teams are almost mirrors. Right? Broncos only have 12. Bengals have 11. 10 of those picks, Zach, 5 and 4. 9 of these picks, am I getting my math right, are from Simmons and Surtain. Simmons has 5. Doesn't Pat have 4, I want to say? I'm going to double check that.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. We got the Queen.
Oh, read it. I'm off screen.
I'm too busy bowing to her right now, Chad. Christy popping in here. So good to see you, Christy. We love you so much. $50 super. Thank you so much. Awesome. She goes, hi, kids. Long time. Hope you all are having a great night. Glad to finally catch my guys live. Go Broncos. So good to see you, Christy. We've missed you around here for sure. I hope you're having a great night and know that we love you very much.
Yes, we have. Hope everyone's doing well in the household. Did you get the second jersey? So we had a snafu on her jersey. I forget which one she won. Was it the Simmons jersey? I think she won. Yep. And there was a snafu on the sides that was supposed to come. We ended up getting the second one sent out. So let me know if that's arrived yet or if I need to track that down. But it is great to have the Queen of MHH, the original, in the house with us. Royalty. We got the Duchess and we got the Queen here tonight. Love it. All right, coming back here, 12 picks. So, yes, 9 of them, Zach, come from Simmons and Surtain. Isn't that crazy, dude? Only 3 other players, 13 games technically, into the season have picked off a ball for these Denver Broncos. Like, that's not good.
And you know what the sad part is? They're paying a combined, let's see if my math is correct, $27 million this year between Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, and Bryce Callahan, and they're not getting the production out of that secondary. So, it's good that Simmons is earning his money and Patrick Surtain is looking like a future All-Pro, but you got to get more out of the highest-paid secondary in the NFL.
I'll tell you this, though. On Darby, he's really kind of stabilized over the last quarter of the season. Like, I've been modestly impressed with him. No big splash plays, but he's doing well in coverage. He's coming up and making the stops and run support. Like, I've been happy with him. I just want to see from this entire secondary, as Zach mentioned, we need to see more takeaways. We need to see more game-changing plays. And the problem is these things are symbiotic, man. It's hard for secondaries to pick off passes when the quarterback has all day long could take a nap in the pocket, wake up, eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, then throw the pass. What do you expect the secondary to do? Like, they almost have to get lucky. Shelby Harris, put down the podcast mic. Go rush the quarterback, dude. Sacks, Zach, 30. Broncos are middle of the road, all right? So could be worse. They've been without Vaughn now for a minute, and they're still right in the middle in sacks. Meanwhile, the Bengals, only one team is better than them in sacking the quarterback. They have 37. And then we get to the money stats here. Third down, the Broncos still suck at holding opponents, getting them off the field on third down. They're ranked 26th. Bengals are middle of the pack, all right? Modestly better in that department, but still not great. Red zone, though, the Broncos have clawed their way back into top 10 ranking and are only allowing touchdowns on just shy of 52% of red zone trips. Bengals, middle of the pack, 58.5%, Zach.
Well, refresh my memory. What are the Broncos on third down on offense, Chad? If you can scroll back up.
17th.
So, I mean, that's going to be a battle there. I mean, whoever owns that down that can be an underlying factor for the game. So the Broncos have the better defense, but it seems like Cincinnati has more game-changing plays, especially from its pass rush with Trey Hendrickson.
Special teams, kind of boring, but look, Broncos are still top 10 in punt return average, which just surprises this snot out of me. Field goal percentage, 10th, thanks to McManus being relatively consistent this year. Penalties, look at this. Broncos are one of the least penalized teams in the league. So are the Cincinnati Bengals. In fact, when it comes to penalties committed, they are the least penalized team in the NFL. That's interesting, Zach. That doesn't typically speak to a young, what is this, his third year, just like Vic, because they were the same coaching cycle. That young head coach, Zach Taylor, was it Zach Taylor? I just had a brain fart.
Yeah.
Usually, when it's a young guy, you usually see a little bit less discipline, a little more slop, guys taking liberties, less feeling like accountability. The Bengals might have something going here. If it's not their year this year, which it probably isn't, they're building something that is going to be, I think, a force to be reckoned with.
Coaching. I hate to keep hammering the same point, but he was being talked about as a firing candidate after the season, and actually, after last season as well. And he turns it around. It helps to have the quarterback in Joe Burrow, but what he's done for that offense and re-energize the organization, having that young perspective in the building, I think it's giving Cincinnati, a historically basement-dwelling franchise, a new shot of life.
Miguel, thank you for the trip down memory lane. 2009. Was it week 1 or week 2? It was one of the first 2 games of that season. I think it was week 1, wasn't it? I think it was the season opener. Broncos go on the road at the Bengals, and it's McDaniel's first game as head coach. Kyle Orton under center, and it comes down to a deflected pass intended for Brandon Marshall that Brandon Stokely in a huge heads-up play scoops out, what was it, like an 80-yard touchdown. They win the game. Definitely a memorable moment. But what I remember more when it comes to Broncos-Bengals is 2015, Broncos rolled in, or I should say Bengals rolled into Denver. If the Broncos win that game, they clinch a playoff berth, and they did. And for whatever reason, I remember that game because it was against A.J. McCarron.
Do you know what I remember? The last time they played, I think it was at Cincinnati. It was a VJ year. I don't know if it was 2017 or 18.
Simeon.
They lost that game pretty bad, if I remember correctly.
No, wait a minute, because I'm thinking Simeon's 4 touchdown game at Cincy, and I think that was 2016. That was Coob. So let me think.
I could have sworn they played again, maybe in 2018, and they had to have that game later in the year, and they just got they didn't show up to it.
Oh, yes.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
No. Hold on. Now it's bothering me. Denver Broncos, I want to say it was 2018 because Broncos were not a factor at all in 17 down the stretch. Let me take a look at Broncos.
My memory is usually pretty undefeated, and I think it was 2018 as Mark's saying here. So that's always my last memory of the game. Just the Broncos didn't show up when they had to have it like usual.
Yeah, at that point in time, John Elway was having visions of bringing Mike Shanahan back. Bengals in week 13 at Bengals. You were right, 24-10.
Yeah. Bad game.
24-10. Okay, we're about out of time, guys. Michael, thank you, my dog. Appreciate you. By the way, Scott tried to clarify on that super chat from Damien. He's saying it takes a lot more than an arm to be successful, and that it does. It does take more than an arm. I mean, you got to have the complete package to really make it in the league. And the NFL, Zach, history, the books are littered with big-armed, talented guys who just couldn't put it together between the ears, and vice versa. Guys who were relatively smart. I mean, Kellen Moore's a good example. That guy had like a, Peyton Manning-esque brain, but he just wasn't the specimen Peyton was, because even though by the time Peyton came to Denver, he wasn't quite the dynamic, athlete that he had been. And while most people don't think of dynamism or even athlete when they think about Peyton Manning, as a prospect coming out in the early parts of his career, he was a big, strong, 6'5" tall quarterback, and he never had like an, laser arm, Zach, but he was a big, strong athlete, and you never worried about him getting there. He threw a lot of ducks, but the ball got there. Peyton Manning, shout out.
You can have the quarterback or you can have the coaching, but you can't have neither if you want to make a push in the playoff picture. And the Broncos have neither, I think, in terms of a championship quarterback or coaching staff with Teddy Bridgewater and Pat Shurmur. I mean, if they had one half of that equation solved, I can get on board. But, I mean, what is really the upside? That's what you have to ask yourself.
Dude, I used to hate Peyton Manning. As a fan, I hated Peyton because he was the Bronco killer, man. 2 years in a row. First of all, we could never beat Peyton Manning. I don't think the Broncos beat Peyton Manning unless it was like his rookie year, 98. And I don't know if we played them in 98. Either way, Peyton Manning just would mop the floor. Those 2 years, the first two Plummer years, he gets here, leads the Broncos to the playoffs. He has to play in the wild card both times in Indy, and just absolute beatdowns, dude. Beatdowns. And fortunately, the next year, they didn't have to play the Colts. They got a first-round bye, got a home game in the divisional round, and it was arguably worse, right? You had Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, the defending world champions, coming to town, and Plummer handed Tom his first playoff loss all time, gets to the AFC title game, loses, and then ushers in basically the Cutler era. But Peyton Manning, up until that point, man, he was the killer. He was the Bronco killer. But now once he becomes your quarterback, obviously that changes quite a bit, right? It's like I never liked to keep Talib until I became a Bronco.
Yeah, as a football fan, I love Peyton Manning, but as a Madden player, I hated playing against him because he would take it down to the final 2 seconds by constantly audibling and Omahaing every single second. So, great player, great personality, and he does these Monday night telecasts with Eli Manning that are tremendous, and I would recommend everyone watch those.
All right, guys, we are about out of time, so I'm just looking for any. Michael says, well, Hold on to Shane. Actually, Shane says Broncos beat the Bengals in 18-24-10. It made us 5-6. Thanks, Shane. Do appreciate that, bro. Michael says Bengals will win this game if the Broncos don't trust their running game and passing game with Teddy, Gordon, and Williams with this coaching staff. It'll be interesting because Zach, he kind of makes a point here. It's worth talking about. It would be really easy for Shurmur to go away from what's been working, the running game, like take that low-hanging fruit because the Bengals are so bad against the pass, and just like completely jump the shark and live to really rue that game plan. So they got to just be a balanced offense, man. Have presence of mind, convert in the key situations. You'll be okay.
But here's what happens if Cincinnati shuts down the Broncos running game, which, by the way, Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are both nursing injuries now. So let's say they take away the running game. This could be the week that Teddy Bridgewater has to step up and win Denver the ball game. And in a playoff implicating matchup against Joe Burrow and Cincinnati, a far cry from Detroit, I don't think he's capable of that. He has not once this season won a game on the strength of his own shoulder. He's ridden the wave to a victory, Chad. And it could be the case this week where that fourth-ranked run defense, they take care of Pookie, they take care of Melvin Gordon, and they say, beat us, Teddy. I don't know about you guys, but that makes me scared.
All right, guys. Mark says, Lindemood says, I threw my Vaughn jersey on the ground and jumped up and down on it after that game. Didn't hurt the jersey, though. happened with Vaughn in that game? Now I'm trying to remember, man. Like people are remembering that Cincy game, and we're still talking about Cincy, right, Mark? Yeah, Clayton, shout out, buddy. Broncos for life, Wisconsin.
In the 2016 game, they played Cincinnati. They play them like every year for 3 years. We're remembering so many matchups. Didn't Vaughn have a strip sack of Andy Dalton and Shane Ray ran it back for a touchdown?
I want to say that was the Trevor 4 touchdown game.
I think it's the same though, right? Was that the Vaughn play they were talking? I don't know. I'm confused now. Too many Bengals. Broncos.
I'm probably the one confusing you because I can't remember the complexion of that 2018 game for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm assuming it was. Oh well, 18. Obviously, it would have been Keenum. Oh yeah, I remember that game, dude. I remember that game now. Rick says, "Don't you just love how New England found its quarterback after just 1 year removed from Brady? Here's to hoping Peyton is cooking. He's cooking. He's biding his time. But guys, we got to dip on out of here. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us, Zach. If you want to do the rundown, we'll dip on out.
I think I was thinking of the Colts game in 2016 with Shane Ray and Von Miller having that returned. The fumble 6. If I can scroll and my mouse allows me to get to the banners, there, I got it. Okay, guys, this was the Huddle Up Podcast. We are done for the week. This was the Mile High Mailbag and head-to-head matchup for the Broncos. Week 15 showdown against Cincinnati on Sunday. We'll be back on Sunday evening to recap our gut reactions and provide our analysis to that game. Until we see you guys next, follow us on Twitter at HuddleUpPod. Follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle for all your Broncos news, analysis, rumors, film breakdowns, and more. You can follow my partner, Chad, on Twitter at Chad and Jensen. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. Follow Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. And if you haven't already, go to HuddleUpPod.com and get yourself a dope football priest hat like Chad and I are rocking. Get yourself a coffee cup. Get yourself a beanie. Hot off the presses right now at HuddleUpPod.com. And if you haven't, go to Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Hit that big blue button. Become a supporter. Kelberman's Corner, Broncos Book Club, Trickle Zone, exclusive content each and every week at your fingertips. $5 a month. You have my recommendation, worth every penny. And Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Follow that page. If you haven't, if you want some swag, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win a hat, beanie, coffee cup, etc. each and every month. But if you can't do those things, do these 3 things. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Yeah, guys, please, a small little thing you can do before you dip out, like the video. Helps us out a ton. Shout out to these top star senders on Facebook. Miguel at the top. Jermaine. Wow, Jermaine comes out of left field last night, and now he's ranked 2 on the board to end today. That's dope. Thank you, Jermaine. Stone, right behind him. Michael, Claude, Jordan, Yvonne, Clayton, George, Fox, and Andrew Baker. Much love and respect to each and every one of you. George Fox here. Thank you for those stars, buddy. He says, if we have to count on Teddy to win this game, I'm afraid we lose then. Well, yeah, you can't count on Teddy to be that difference. But if you get a good, balanced, complementary performance from the team, man, he can do enough to keep you not squander that, right? So anyway, as Zach said, much love to you guys. Broncos Book Club is returning Saturday at noon Mountain Time. We will be going through the next 2 chapters of Slow Getting Up, Nate Jackson. Excellent book. And then after that, we'll see you Sunday for Kelberman's Corner first and then Huddle Up Pod.
I think we're so knee-deep in Stockholm Syndrome, Chad, we don't realize what we're saying anymore. I mean, you just said the Broncos quarterback is not going to be the difference, and we shouldn't expect him to be the difference and win the game for them. It's a really, really sad state of affairs, but have a great weekend, Chad, Scott, everyone out there for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Sunday after the game. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.